The biggest question asked when someone wants to play GTA 4 on PC is, should I downgrade, or what version should I downgrade GTA 4 to? However, why do you actually have to downgrade? Is it necessary for you to downgrade? What differences exist between different versions of GTA 4? That's exactly what we're going to find out in this video. Just a quick note, the main 4 versions of the game that are supported and recommended are 1.0.4.0, 1.0.7.0, 1.0.8.0, and the Complete Edition. Throughout this video, I'll just refer to these versions as 1.4, 1.7, and 1.8. So, let's start off with some visible changes. Throughout GTA 4's life cycle, the shadows were tweaked a bit between versions, and it's possibly the most obvious visible change between different versions of the game. Out of all 4 versions, shadows look the worst in version 1.4. Version 1.7 has arguably the best shadows, while version 1.8 and the Complete Edition are basically the same as each other. While the shadow code between 1.7, 1.8 and the Complete Edition is basically the same, Rockstar made some changes in 1.7 which allowed objects that previously didn't draw shadows. So, like you see here, in 1.7 a part of the railway casts shadows, but in other versions it doesn't. In version 1.4, there's a slider for shadow density. This just changes how many lights near the player can cast shadows. Once this option is on, even at a value of 1, the player's headlights will cast shadows, and this seems to have priority over every other light source when the player is in the vehicle. All versions after 1.6 no longer have this shadow density slider. Instead, they have a simple toggle for a new option called Night Shadows. Night Shadows enables lights near the player to cast shadows, most likely with a set limit. Despite being able to toggle between different quality settings for night shadows, I've seen no difference in quality, shadow amount, or draw distance between the different quality settings. Once night shadows are on, headlights from the player's vehicle will also cast shadows. Shadows from light sources seem to behave the same way to me in later versions. The only difference is the quality of the shadows, which as we've shown before, is typically the worst in 1.4 and the best in 1.7. So, performance wise, version 1.4 is easily the best out of the 4 versions. This is likely due to the much lower quality shadows. Version 1.7 is the worst for performance. This is possibly due to the higher quality shadows, but I'm not entirely sure. It's possible they just made optimizations behind the scenes in later versions, and version 1.8 and the Complete Edition are both roughly the same, so they tie for second best. This isn't really a definitive test, as maybe there's a scenario in the game which performs better on one patch over another, but this small test lines up with what others in the community have experienced, so I'd say it's accurate enough. What about GTA 4's DLC? Version 1.4 doesn't support the DLC at all, so you can't play the DLC if you downgrade to this version of the game. Versions 1.7 and 1.8 can support the DLC, but will require you to mod the game to get them to work. And the Complete Edition comes with and supports the DLC right out of the gate. Sometime between version 1.4 and 1.7, Rockstar broke LOD Fading with a lot of objects. For example, look at this fire escape here. In version 1.4, as we get further away from it, it slowly fades out of existence. In version 1.7 and later versions, the fire escape will instead just disappear instantly once the player is a certain distance away. This isn't the intended behaviour. In patch 1.6, Rockstar broke some of the emissive shaders. This was never fixed in later versions. This means some buildings no longer light up at nighttime. With the Complete Edition of GTA 4, Rockstar added support for Steam achievements to the game. Previously, you could only earn GTA 4 achievements through Games for Windows Live, which as far as I know is no longer available, and even if it is, Games for Windows Live is a major hassle to set up. I'll go into this more soon. Version 1.4 doesn't support Steam achievements at all. Versions 1.7 and 1.8 can support Steam achievements with a mod, and the Complete Edition does support Steam achievements. In terms of multiplayer, older versions of the game supported, but it's a massive hassle to get working. If your Microsoft account password is long, you can't sign in to Games for Windows Live. If you have two-factor authentication enabled, you can't sign in either. In my opinion, it is too much hassle and it won't work out of the box when you downgrade. If you are interested in playing multiplayer for GTA 4, there's a Discord server called GTA Revival, which has tutorials to get multiplayer working, and they also host multiplayer events. I'd recommend checking it out if you are interested in GTA 4's multiplayer. Multiplayer was completely removed in the Complete Edition. This is a bit unfortunate as GTA 4 did have multiplayer via LAN, and it would have been nice if Rockstar left this in. Although, there are third-party multiplayer clients out there being worked on for the Complete Edition. HappinessMP is a multiplayer client being worked on specifically for the Complete Edition, and will likely be the main way to play GTA 4's multiplayer in the future. There's also GTA Connected, which has partial support for the Complete Edition, but they're planning on supporting it in the future. Music was removed from the 1.8 version and Complete Edition of GTA 4 due to licensing. The radio can be restored in both versions with a mod. The Complete Edition is the only version of the game that contains the radio stations and music from both of the DLCs across the entire game. So music and radio stations that were previously exclusive to the DLCs are now available in the base GTA 4 game with the Complete Edition. This was possible in older versions of the game with mods, but it's a hassle to set up and supposedly caused crashes in some instances. Before I cover modding, I'll quickly go over some miscellaneous things to consider between versions 2. In 1.4, you can't turn off helicopter mouse controls and you can't bind two actions to the same key. In 1.4 and 1.7, VRAM recognition is broken on GPUs with high VRAM. This isn't a big issue, but it has to be fixed using a command line file. So, in terms of modding compatibility, I would say 1.7 has the best mod support, with 1.8 in second place. 1.4 is in third place. However, 1.4 is the best version of the game for ENB, as ENB only supports certain features in 1.4. This means some ENB mods will look better in version 1.4 compared to other versions. The Complete Edition is the youngest version of the game, and it supports the least amount of mods out of the 4 versions we've compared. That being said, it still supports a lot of mods, and there's compatibility patches out there that make a lot of mods work on the Complete Edition. As well as that, the Complete Edition is slowly getting mods developed with that version in mind first. Mods like FusionFix are developed first for the Complete Edition, and like I said previously, HappinessMP is a third-party multiplayer client being developed for the Complete Edition of the game first. Okay, so if you're not modding GTA 4, what version should you use? Well, if you're not modding, I would recommend sticking with the Complete Edition of GTA 4. Version 1.4 is very tempting, but with the poor shadows and lack of DLC support, I don't think it's a great choice. As well as that, getting the DLCs to work with 1.7 and 1.8 will require a mod. Disabling games from Windows Live requires a mod, and enabling achievements on 1.7 and 1.8 will require a mod too. Yes, there's downgraders out there that will basically install these mods for you during the downgrading process, but they're generally not very future-proof, and I don't like recommending methods like this on the channel, because if users do change their mind later on and decide they want to install mods, they often don't know what mods they have and haven't got installed. This generally leads to headaches for me and the authors of mods, as people run into issues that they wouldn't have run into if they just installed mods themselves instead of letting a tool automatically do it. The only thing you'll miss out on by not downgrading the Complete Edition is some songs will be missing from the radio and multiplayer isn't playable, but other than that, the Complete Edition is basically the same experience as 1.7 and 1.8, aside from some very minor things. However, I would highly recommend modding GTA 4, even lightly, to fix some of the annoying issues with the PC port of this game. I have a video covering some of these issues if you'd like to know more, but just to sum it up, GTA 4 on PC has worse graphic fidelity than the console versions of the game, and most of these issues are fixed by using FusionFix with the Complete Edition. Just a small example of how the console versions have higher graphic fidelity over the PC versions, rain splashes on the ground are missing in all versions of the game on PC. However, this is fixed with FusionFix. Anyway, personally, I would highly recommend modding GTA 4, even if you just want to play through the game normally. I'll have more videos covering how to mod GTA 4 soon, so make sure you subscribe for that. So, if you are modding GTA 4, which version should you use? I will start off by saying the only reason I'd recommend 1.4 is if you want to use ENB and that specific ENB recommends 1.4. Other than that, I wouldn't use 1.4 as it lacks DLC support and has the worst shadow quality out of all versions. So it basically comes down to version 1.7, 1.8 and the Complete Edition. Out of these three versions, despite what you might think, I'd recommend the Complete Edition. Now, here's my reasons. There's a split in the modding community at the moment regarding which of these versions modders should support. Zolika is a modder who created a mod called Zolika Patch, a mod that fixes quite a few issues in GTA 4. However, this mod only supports versions 1.4, 1.7 and 1.8 of GTA 4. This mod is closed source, meaning nobody can view the mod's code or learn from the mod itself. This means that modders who want to get Zolika Patch working for the Complete Edition can't. And if they want to learn how the mod fixes certain things, they can't do this either. On the other side of the community, we have the FusionFix team. This is a group of modders, some of which have been in the GTA modding community for over 10 years. They are currently working on the mod FusionFix, a mod which also fixes quite a few issues in GTA 4. This mod only supports the Complete Edition of GTA 4, although they're planning to bring the mod to older versions of GTA 4 in the future. However, unlike Zolika Patch, FusionFix is open source. This means anybody can view the mod's code, they can learn from the mod, they can contribute to the mod, and if they want, they can backport the mod to older versions of GTA 4 as well, without waiting on the FusionFix team to do it. In my opinion, I do think it's best if we all support open source mods such as FusionFix. Some of the best mods ever released for GTA games were open source, and they all benefited in some way from being open source. ModLoader was originally only available for San Andreas, but the fact that it was open source meant other modders could learn from the mod and help the author port ModLoader to GTA 3 and Vice City. SkyGFX is open source, and without it being open source, we'd never get SkyGFX Extended, a great fork of the original mod which adds some great new effects like a realistic wind shader to San Andreas. Open source benefits us all, and if for some reason GTA 4 was to get another update in 10 years time, FusionFix being open source almost guarantees its compatibility with future versions of the game, as newer modders can read the code, learn from the code, and adapt the mod where they need to for the newer game version. For the majority of users, the Complete Edition has more than enough mod support, and it will only grow in the future. With the Complete Edition of GTA 4, you can still find trainers to use, you can still use vehicle mods, weapon mods, and other texture mods. For those of you who like to roleplay, LCPD Force Response also works with the Complete Edition as well, so you're not missing out by not downgrading. And as well as that, you can always use the latest version of FusionFix, which has its own type of mod loader and provides a ton of great fixes for GTA 4. I'll be covering more FusionFix on the channel soon. So that's basically it. I'd recommend the complete edition of GTA 4 simply because the modding community for that version of the game is committing to open source, and because of this, we'll likely make more progress than we would if we stuck to older versions of the game with an ecosystem of closed source mods. If a mod you really want to use only supports an older version of the game, you can downgrade. And if you do downgrade, I'd heavily recommend Zolika's mods, which fix a lot of issues with the older versions of GTA 4. But other than that, I think the complete edition will suit the majority of users' needs and is the least troublesome to work with as a user. Also, do keep in mind, there's a section of the community who will behave stupidly irrational about which version of the game you should use. Most of them are just spouting stuff they heard from other people without researching themselves. I've used the complete edition for a lot of hours, and in my experience, it's as stable as the other versions of the game. Some modders may not like the complete edition, and they have their reasons, but that's not really your problem as a user. Plenty of modders do like the complete edition of the game, and they want to make it the best version of the game possible. Anyway, I'll have some GTA 4 modding guides up on the channel soon, so make sure you subscribe for that. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like, and I'll catch you later.